Tonia Beaumont had exactly 4 hours before her entire fashion career collapsed. She just didn't know it yet. The jet lag from her flight hit her the moment she stumbled off the international flight at LAX. She had used 6 months in Paris. 6 months pouring every dollar, every dream, every sleepless night into a collection that was supposed to save her failing boutique in Little Tokyo. The silk dresses packed in her black designer suitcase represented her last chance. Her grandmother's legacy, her future, her everything. She barely registered, dragging the suitcase off the carousel. Black leather, designer logo, silver hardware. Hers. She was too exhausted to check for the small charm. A miniature sewing machine her grandmother had attached years ago. Outside, the California night air hit her like a wall. A sleek black sedan idled at the curb, hazard lights blinking. Her assistant had mentioned booking a car service. This must be it. Tonia didn't look at the driver nor ask questions. She just tossed her bag in the trunk and collapsed into the back seat, eyes already closing. "Downtown, please," she mumbled. "The atelier on 5th Street. The driver said nothing. The car started moving. 30 minutes later, Tonia's eyes fluttered open. Something felt wrong. The buildings outside weren't downtown Los Angeles. They were heading into the hills. Winding roads, iron gates, estates hidden behind stone walls. "Excuse me." Her voice was rough with sleep. "This isn't the right direction." Silence. "Hey," I said. The car turned sharply through gates that belonged to old Hollywood money. They swung shut behind them with a finality that made Tonia's stomach drop. The driveway curved through manicured gardens toward a sprawling brick mansion. 3 stories of classic architecture with ivy crawling up the walls and warm light glowing from arched windows. Beautiful, expensive, and terrifying. The car stopped in a circular courtyard paved with cobblestones. Before Tonia could process what was happening, her door opened. A Korean man stood there, tall, impeccably dressed in a dark suit that definitely cost more than anything she ever owned. His face was all sharp angles and darker skin that caught the courtyard lights, with short, neat braids that gave him an edge of danger beneath the polished exterior. His eyes were the kind of black that absorbed everything and gave nothing back. He extended a hand, not to help her out, but to gesture. "Ms. Beaumont," he said. His voice was low, controlled, with the faintest trace of a Korean accent, suggesting a long stay in America. "Welcome. I've been expecting you." Tonia's blood turned to ice. "How do you know my name?" "Because you're holding something that belongs to me." He nodded at the suitcase she'd instinctively grabbed and took it from her. "Shall we?" Tonia's brain tried to make sense of the impossible. She came out of the car on what felt like jelly legs. She followed him into the mansion because what choice did she have? He had her entire world in his hand. The interior was all exposed brick walls, dark wood beams across high ceilings, and art that belonged in museums. The space was warm, intimate, the kind of home that whispered old money and probably older secrets. Armed men in suits stood at strategic points, their attention sharp but disciplined. "There's been a mistake," Tonia said, her voice shaking. "I'm a fashion designer. I just got back from Paris. I don't know who you think I am, but my office." He didn't look back, just walked through the house like he expected her to shut up and follow, which might be how people answer to him. He probably had never been questioned in his life. The office was lined with books, dominated by a massive mahogany desk, and lit by a fireplace that crackled with genuine warmth. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the gardens, but Tonia noticed they were reinforced, bulletproof probably. He gestured to a leather chair. "Sit." She raised an eyebrow but sat. He placed the suitcase on the desk between them, then settled into his own chair with the casual confidence of someone who'd never been afraid a day in his life. "My name is Kalen," he said, "and I'm going to give you one opportunity to be honest with me. What did you say is in the case?" "My collection." The words tumbled out. 6 months of work. Sketches, fabric samples, finished pieces. That's all. "I swear." "Open it. It's just clothes." "Ms. Beaumont." His voice dropped an octave. "Open the case." Her hands trembled as she reached for the latches. This was insane. She'd open it, he'd see her dresses, and this nightmare would end. Some explanation, some apology, and she'd be on her way. The latches clicked. She lifted the lid. and her world stopped. Not silk, not sketches, not her grandmother's dream. The case contained sleek metallic devices arranged in custom foam compartments, blinking lights, intricate circuits, data chips, and a thick envelope sealed with red wax that looked like something from a spy movie. "That's not mine," she whispered. Kaylin leaned forward, examining the contents with an unreadable expression. "Interesting. I swear to God, that's not my suitcase." Tonia's voice pitched higher. "Mine looks exactly like this, but it has a charm on it. A silver sewing machine. My grandmother gave it to me. This isn't mine." He studied her for a long moment. Something flickered in those dark eyes of his. Calculation, perhaps. Or doubt. Then he pulled out his phone and spoke in rapid Korean. Tonia caught maybe 3 words, one of them sounding like airport. The conversation lasted 90 seconds. When he ended the call, his jaw was tight. "There's a woman at LAX, Kaylin said slowly, currently having what security describes as a panic attack. She's clutching a black designer suitcase. She claims someone switched her luggage." Hope exploded in Tonia's chest. "That's mine. That's my suitcase. So you see, it was just a mix-up. If you could just help me get it back." "No." The word landed like a physical blow. "What do you mean, no?" Kaylin stood, walked to the windows with his hands clasped behind his back. "You've seen what's in my package. You know I exist. You're sitting in my home. And my enemies, a crime syndicate called the Beacon Lotus, are actively hunting for this delivery." He turned to face her. "Currently, they think you're my courier. A black woman, your approximate age and build, carrying this specific case off this specific flight. The description matches perfectly. I don't know anything about your world. That won't stop them from torturing you to discover what you know." His tone was matter-of-fact, clinical, no emotion. "The Beacon Lotus doesn't ask politely, Ms. Beaumont. They ask with knives and electricity and very creative interpretations of anatomy." Tonia stood, anger replacing fear. "So what, you're just going to keep me here? I grabbed the wrong bag at an airport. I'm not a criminal. No. You're collateral damage in a war you can't begin to understand." He moved closer, and she had to resist the urge to back away. "But we have aligned interests now. Your life's work is in the hands of a terrified woman who might be losing her mind considering she planned all along to deliver my case to my competitor. My $1 million shipment here is useless to me without the chip with her. Which is to find my supposed courier, her name is Becca, and make the exchange. You get your designs. I get my package. Everyone walks away breathing. And then you let me go? You have my word." Tonia laughed bitterly. The word of a criminal. How comforting. Something dangerous flashed in his eyes. "I'm many things, Ms. Beaumont, but a liar is not one if I keep my promises." She thought about her boutique, bleeding money. Her collection, her grandmother's dream, in the hands of a stranger. This man, terrifying as he was, offering a solution. "Fine," Tonia said through gritted teeth. "But when this is over, I never want to see you again." A faint smile touched his lips. "We'll see." They gave her a bedroom that felt like a luxury hotel suite. King-sized bed with soft linens. An ensuite bathroom with a clawfoot tub. A walk-in closet stocked with designer clothes in her exact size, which was either thoughtful or deeply unsettling. But the windows wouldn't open, and a guard stood outside her door. Tonia paced the hardwood floors, trying to make sense of her situation. 12 hours ago, she was a struggling designer. Now she was an accidental hostage in what appeared to be a crime lord's mansion. She tested the door. Locked from the outside. Of course. A knock made her jump. "It's time." Kaylin's voice came through the wood. "We need to discuss the plan." The conference room looked like something from a tech startup. Holographic displays. Multiple monitors showing surveillance feeds. A man built like a tank stood at attention. This was Jae-wha, Kaylin's head of security. "We've been tracking Becca's movements," Jae-wha explained, pulling up footage. "She's hiding in Westchester. Hasn't contacted anyone. She's terrified." Kaylin gestured to a screen showing airport security footage. "There. That's Becca." Tonia studied the image. The woman was petite like her, stylish, with an effortless elegance that screamed money. Not like her. And black, which explained everything. We could have been twins from a distance, Tonia muttered. Same build, same skin tone, similar age. Which is why you're valuable to us, Kaylin said. You understand fashion in ways my men don't. The way someone carries a bag, the cut of their coat. These details matter when we're trying to find someone who doesn't want to be found. Tonia looked closer at the footage, her designer's eye-cataloging details. She's wearing Mugler. That coat is custom-tailored. And those earrings. See how she keeps touching them? Nervous habit. She's not used to carrying something this valuable. Jaehwa and Kaylin exchanged glances. What? Tonia asked. My men wouldn't have caught those details, Kaylin said. Your eye just became your most valuable asset. That statement led to day 2 of her captivity. Tonia woke to find a breakfast tray outside her door. Fresh fruit, coffee that smelled like heaven, and a note in elegant handwriting. Conference room, 9 a.m. Dress comfortably. K. She arrived to find architectural blueprints spread across the table. There's a charity gala tomorrow night, Kaylin explained without preamble. High society. The kind of event where information gets traded over champagne and canapes. Becca's handler will be there. A broker who facilitates deals between organizations. If she wants to offload your suitcase and my chip without getting killed, she'll make contact at this event. So we just grab her? Tonia asked. Nothing about this is that simple. He pulled up photos of dangerous-looking men. The Beacon Lotus will be there too, hunting for their missing shipment. This needs to go smoothly, which is why you're attending with me. Tonia blinked. I'm what? You'll come as my date. Your job is to identify Becca before they do. When you spot her, signal me. We extract her quietly. No violence. No attention. Your date. Tonia couldn't keep the disbelief from her voice. Kaylin, I'm supposed to be in hiding. You'll hide in plain sight. The best disguise is audacity. He slid a garment bag across the table. Besides, your designer will revel at it. She unzipped the bag. The gown was midnight blue silk that shimmered like liquid starlight, with beading so intricate it must have taken hundreds of hours. The kind of dress that would make every person in a room stop and stare. The kind of dress Tonia had dreamed of creating but never had the resources for. Where did you get this? Her voice was barely a whisper. I have connections in the fashion world. Was that pride in his voice? It should fit perfectly. She looked up at him. You're insane if you think I'm walking into a room full of criminals wearing this. I think you're braver than you believe, Ms. Beaumont. He met her eyes. The question is, do you? The day of the gala, Tonia stood in front of her mirror and barely recognized herself. The gown fit like it was made for her body specifically. Her natural hair was styled in an elegant updo that showcased her features. Diamond earrings she definitely hadn't owned before that morning sparkled at her ears. She looked like she belonged in Kaylin's world. The thought terrified her. A knock came. It's time. She opened the door. Kaylin wore a tuxedo that should have been illegal. The man was already unfairly attractive, sharp features, intense eyes, that air of controlled danger. Now he looked like he'd stepped off a red carpet designed to destroy women's composure. His gaze swept over her, and something shifted in his expression. You look stunning. You clean up okay yourself, Tonia managed. He offered his arm. Remember the plan. Scan for Becca. When you spot her, squeeze my arm twice. Don't approach. Don't make eye contact. We handle the rest. And if the Beacon Lotus spots me, they won't. You're with me. His confidence should have been annoying. Instead, it was oddly reassuring. Ready? Absolutely not. Let's go. The ballroom was a study in excess. Crystal chandeliers dripped from vaulted ceilings. Ice sculptures shaped like swans melted slowly beside champagne fountains. Women in gowns that cost more than some assets. Men in tuxedos discussing things that definitely violated several laws. Every eye turned when they entered. Kaylin's hand rested on Tonia's lower back, warm and possessive. They descended the grand staircase like they owned the room, like she belonged here. Breathe, he murmured near her ear. You're doing perfectly. I feel like I'm going to throw up. That's normal. Smile anyway. She smiled. They moved through the crowd, and Tonia played her part. Nodding politely, laughing at jokes that weren't funny, all while her eyes catalogued every face, every outfit, every detail. Classical music swelled. Waiters glided past with trays of hors d'oeuvres. Tonia accepted a glass of champagne she had no intention of drinking. Then she saw her, corner of the room, partially hidden by a marble column, wearing a scarlet dress that was just slightly too flashy for this crowd, trying too hard to blend in. And that nervous habit, touching her earring every 30 seconds. Becca. Tonia squeezed Kalen's arm twice. He didn't react, didn't even glance in that direction. Just smoothly steered them toward the bar. Where? 10 o'clock. Corner. Red dress. Good. Now we wait for her to. He stopped mid-sentence. Tonia followed his gaze and her blood went cold. 3 men in dark suits had entered. They moved through the crowd with predatory precision, eyes scanning faces, heading directly toward Becca's section. Beacon Lotus, Kalen said quietly. They found her. Everything after that happened fast. Becca spotted them. Her face went white. She stood abruptly, champagne glass clattering to the table, searching for an exit. The Beacon Lotus operatives closed in. Kalen spoke rapidly into a concealed earpiece, his men moving into position around the ballroom's perimeter. Becca ran. Damn it, Kalen muttered. He grabbed Tonia's hand. Stay close. They moved through the crowd as Becca bolted for a side exit. The Beacon Lotus gave chase. Kalen's men tried to intercept, but there were too many civilians, too much at stake. Becca burst through doors leading to the kitchen. The Beacon Lotus followed. So did they. The kitchen was chaos, stainless steel and open flames. Chefs scattered as armed men flooded in. Tonia pressed against Kalen's back, her heart hammering against her ribs. There! Jaewa's voice crackled through Kalen's earpiece. Becca had reached a service elevator. She frantically hit the button as the Beacon Lotus closed in. Kalen moved like lightning. He grabbed a serving tray and hurled it at the nearest operative, connecting with his face. Jaewa and 2 other men engaged the others in a fight that was brutal and efficient. But one operative got through. He grabbed Becca just as the elevator doors opened. She screamed, kicking and fighting, her scarlet dress tearing. Tonia stopped thinking. She grabbed the nearest weapon, a cast iron skillet hanging from a rack, and swung it at the operative's head with every ounce of strength in her body. Clang. He dropped like a stone. Becca stumbled into the elevator. Tonia followed, pulling her along. Kalen dove in just as the doors closed, breathing hard. They rode up in silence except for Becca's sobbing and their collective ragged breathing. Did you just... Kalen looked at Tonia with something like awe. Did you just take out a trained assassin with a frying pan? I didn't think about it, Tonia said, adrenaline making her shake. He was going to hurt her. Becca stared at her through tears. Who are you people? Excellent question, Kalen said. The elevator opened onto the roof. A helicopter waited, rotors already spinning. Because of course Kalen had a helicopter. They climbed in Tonia, Kalen, Becca, and Jaewa. As they lifted off, Tonia looked down at the chaos they'd left behind in the ballroom below. I'm sorry, Becca said, her voice small and broken. I panicked. I thought the chip with me was connected to a bomb. I was going to turn myself in, but then I know the Beacon Lotus would come looking for me if they don't get their package, and Where's the suitcase and chip now? Tonia asked, trying to keep her voice gentle despite the adrenaline still coursing through her. Safe deposit box. Downtown bank. I have the key. She pulled a small silver key from inside her bra. I can get it tomorrow when they open. Kalen nodded. We'll go together. Make the exchange. This ends tomorrow. Tonia should have felt relieved. Instead, a strange knot formed in her stomach. The helicopter banked over the Los Angeles skyline, and Tonia watched the city lights blur beneath them, feeling like she was suspended between 2 worlds. The one she'd left behind and one she didn't fully understand yet. Back at the mansion, Tonia couldn't sleep. She stood on the balcony outside her room, looking at the city sprawled below, still wearing the midnight blue gown because she didn't know what else to do with it. Beautiful view. She turned. Kalen stood in the doorway, jacket off, tie loosened. He looked more human like this. Less crime lord, more just man. Shouldn't you be planning tomorrow's mission? Tonia asked. It's planned. Jae-wha will escort Becca to the bank. I get my chip. You get your collection. You go home. He moved to stand beside her at the railing. Simple. Nothing about this week has been simple. He smiled slightly. No, it hasn't. They stood in silence for a moment, the city breathing below them. Can I ask you something? Tonya said. You can ask. I may not answer. Why did you keep your word? About protecting me. You could have just made me disappear and go about getting your chip. He was quiet for a long moment. My father was a man who broke every promise he ever made. He lied to my mother, to his associates, to everyone. It destroyed him. Destroyed our family. His voice was distant, like he was looking at something she couldn't see. I decided young that I would never be him. In my world, my word is the only currency that truly matters. If I lose that, I lose everything. Tonya studied him, not the dangerous criminal but the man underneath. That's almost noble. For a crime lord. He laughed, the sound genuine and warm. Almost noble. I'll accept that. Why fashion? He asked. Why risk everything on a boutique in one of the most competitive industries in the world? Because it's the only thing I've ever loved, Tonya said honestly. My grandmother was a seamstress. She taught me that every stitch tells a story, that you can create beauty from nothing but thread and vision. When she died, she left me her sewing machine and enough money for 1 semester at design school. I promised her I'd make something of it. She looked down at her hands. But I'm failing. The boutique is drowning in debt. This collection was my last shot. You're not failing, Kaylin said firmly. You're surviving. There's a difference. Says the man who lives in a mansion. Says the man who watched his mother sell everything she owned to keep food on the table after my father's empire collapsed. His jaw tightened. I rebuilt from nothing, Tonya. I know what survival looks like. And you, attacking a trained killer with cookware to save someone you don't even know? That's not failure. That's strength. The way he said her name, not Ms. Beaumont but Tonya, sent warmth through her that had nothing to do with the California night. Thank you, she whispered, for protecting me, for helping me, for keeping your word, for seeing me. He turned to face her fully, and suddenly they were very close. How could I not see you? His phone rang. He cursed quietly, stepping back to answer. His expression changed instantly. When? Where? How many? Tonya's stomach dropped. What is it? He ended the call, his face grim. The Beacon Lotus knows about bank. They're moving onto it tomorrow morning. If you're not already subscribed, hit that button right now because this story is about to take a turn you will not see coming. Drop a comment telling me, do you trust Becca? And hit the like button. Your support literally keeps these stories coming. Don't miss what happens next. The plan changed. They couldn't wait until morning. They had to move tonight. Tonya found herself in the back of an armored SUV at 3 a.m., racing through Los Angeles with Kaylin, Jae-wha, and Becca. The bank has security, Jae-wha explained from the front seat. But it's designed to keep people out, not in. If we can get inside before the Beacon Lotus arrives. They're already there, Kaylin interrupted, checking his phone. Surveillance shows 2 vehicles at the north entrance. They're waiting for morning too. So we use the south entrance, Tonya suggested. Everyone looked at her. What? If they're watching one door? The south entrance is a loading dock, Jae-wha said. Reinforced steel. Locked from inside. Tonya thought for a moment, an idea forming. What if we didn't break in? What if we were let in? By who? Becca asked, her voice small. By you. Tonya turned to her. You have an account there. You put the suitcase in a safe deposit box. So you're a customer. What if you had an emergency? What if you needed access in the middle of the night? Kaylin's eyes lit up with understanding. They have a 24-hour emergency access policy for premium members. And I'm definitely premium, Becca said, pulling out a platinum bank card. I store a lot of sensitive materials there. Kaylin made a call. 5 minutes later, they had confirmation. Becca's emergency access request was approved. 30-minute window. The Beacon Lotus will see us enter, Jae-wha warned. Let them, Kaylin said. By the time they breach, we'll be gone. The bank was marble and shadows. A nervous manager met them at the entrance, clearly unhappy about the 3 a.m. wake-up call but too professional to complain. Becca signed in and they were escorted to the vault level. "I have to go alone," Becca said, looking at Kaylin. "Security protocol. Only the account holder can access the boxes." Kaylin didn't like it, but he nodded. 5 minutes. That's all we have." Becca disappeared into the vault. They waited, tense, silent, for minutes, 4.5. The building's alarms started screaming. "They're breaching," Jae-wha said, checking his phone. "North entrance. Maybe 90 seconds. "Where is she?" Tonya asked, panic rising. The vault door opened. Becca emerged, holding Tonya's black designer suitcase. Relief flooded through Tonya so powerfully she almost collapsed. But there was no time. Gunfire echoed from above. The Beacon Lotus was inside. "Loading dock now." Kaylin grabbed Tonya's hand, and they ran. They burst through the south exit into an alley where their SUV waited, engine running. They piled in and the driver floored it just as Beacon Lotus operatives appeared in the doorway, weapons raised. Bullets pinged off the armored vehicle. Tonya clutched her suitcase to her chest, heart hammering so hard she thought her ribs might crack. They didn't stop until they were back at the mansion, safe behind those iron gates. Tonya opened her suitcase in her room, with Kaylin watching. Her hands shook as she lifted the lid. There they were, her sketches, her fabric samples. 6 months of work, safe and whole. And Kaylin's chip. She gave him his chip and pulled out a silk evening gown, her favorite piece, and held it up to the morning light streaming through the windows. The fabric caught the dawn, shimmering with possibility. "It's beautiful," Kaylin said softly. "It's everything," Tonya whispered. He moved closer, gently touching the silk. "Your grandmother would be proud." She looked up at him, tears blurring her vision. "Thank you for all of this, for keeping your promise. I told you, my word means everything." He pulled something from his pocket, a small velvet box. "I have something for you." She opened it. Inside was a silver charm, a miniature sewing machine, identical to the one her grandmother had given her. "How did you? You mentioned it. When you were trying to convince me the suitcase wasn't yours." He took the charm, carefully attaching it to her suitcase. Now it's complete. Something in Tonya's chest cracked open. This dangerous man, this criminal, had listened, had cared, had remembered such a small detail in the chaos. "The car is ready whenever you want it," Kaylin said quietly. "You're free to go, as promised." Just like that. Just like that. But he didn't move away. Unless you wanted to stay. For breakfast. Jae-wha makes excellent pancakes." She laughed through her tears. "A crime lord who makes pancakes." Jae-wha is a man of many talents. They were standing close now. Close enough that she could see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes. Close enough that when he lifted his hand to brush a tear from her cheek, she leaned into the touch. "Tonya," he said quietly, "this week, you've been extraordinary. And I." His phone rang. He ignored it. It rang again. "You should get that," Tonya said. He answered, his expression darkening immediately. "What? How bad?" He hung up and she knew. Something was wrong. "Becca is gone," he said. "She left the mansion an hour ago. Security footage shows her meeting someone. She wasn't taken." "What do you mean?" His jaw clenched. "She went willingly." They gathered in the conference room. Jae-wha pulled up security footage showing Becca walking calmly to a black sedan. She got in. No struggle. No fear. No looking back. "She played us," Tonya breathed. "Not entirely," Kaylin said, studying the screen. The suitcase swap was genuine. But the Beacon Lotus didn't just discover the delayed delivery. Becca told them. "She's been working both sides from the beginning." "Why?" Tonya asked. "Because the devices in my case aren't just technology," Kaylin explained. "They're encryption keys, worth $10 million to whoever controls them." Becca saw an opportunity. "Use the confusion to pit me against the Beacon Lotus. Wait for us to destroy each other. Then sell the keys to the highest bidder." "But you have the keys," Tonya pointed out. Kaylin's expression was grim. "I had them. She swapped them last night while we were distracted." What we recovered was a duplicate case filled with convincing fakes. The actual devices are with her now. And she knows I might have personal information, Tonia said, realization dawning. And she has my design collections too. She'll use you for leverage if she have to, Kaylin confirmed. Threaten your business, your livelihood. Unless you cooperate. Tonia's phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered on speaker. Hello, Tonia. Becca's voice was cold. Nothing like the frightened woman from before. I have a proposition. You lied to us, Tonia said. I told you what you needed to hear. There's a difference. She paused. I'll make this simple. You have something I need, Kaylin's trust. He won't deal with me, but he'll deal with you. Convince him to wire $10 million to an account I'll provide. Do this and your boutique stays safe. You stay safe. And if I refuse, then I release your designs to every knockoff manufacturer in Los Angeles. Your collection will be on the streets in cheap polyester before you can file a copyright claim. Your boutique will be worthless. And then I'll tell the Beacon Lotus exactly where to find the woman who's been helping Kaylin hunt them. The line went dead. Tonia looked at Kaylin. She wants $10 million. She's threatening my business. She's bluffing, Jawa said. Maybe, Kaylin said. Or maybe she's desperate enough to not care. Tonia set her phone down, her mind racing. Her collection. Her grandmother's dream. Everything she'd worked for. Gone in an instant if Becca followed through. But $10 million? Kaylin would never. I'll pay it, Kaylin said. Tonia blinked. What? I'll wire the money. On one condition. He looked at her. We do this my way. The exchange was set for midnight at an abandoned warehouse in the Arts District. This is obviously a trap, Jawa said for the 5th time as they prepared. Obviously, Kaylin replied. That's why we're springing it first. The plan was calculated madness. Kaylin would wire half the money as good faith. Tonia would go to the exchange with a dummy device, claiming it was insurance. Proof that Kaylin had resources Becca didn't know about. While she was distracted, Kaylin's team would move in. Why does Tonia have to go? Jawa asked. This puts her in danger. Because Becca won't trust anyone else, Kaylin said. She thinks Tonia is an innocent, a civilian caught in the crossfire. She won't expect Tonia to be part of the play. He looked at her. If this goes wrong. It won't, Tonia said, trying to sound confident. If it does, you run. You don't look back. You don't try to help. You survive. Promise me. She met his eyes. I promise. He pulled her aside, away from the others. Tonia, I need you to understand something. After tonight, after this is over, I want you to go home. Back to Little Tokyo. Back to your boutique. Forget this week ever happened. Why? Because you deserve a life that doesn't involve bulletproof windows and midnight exchanges. You deserve to create beautiful things without looking over your shoulder. And what if I don't want to forget? The words escaped before she could stop them. He cupped her face in his hands. Then you're a fool. But a beautiful one. He kissed her. It was gentle and fierce all at once. A kiss that tasted like goodbye and possibilities and danger. When they broke apart, he pressed his forehead to hers. Come back to me, Tonia Beaumont. We'll finish this conversation. The warehouse was exactly as ominous as expected. Shadows. Echo-y emptiness. Graffiti on brick walls that probably had stories to tell. Tonia walked in alone, the dummy device in her pocket, her phone recording everything. Becca emerged from the darkness, flanked by 2 armed men Tonia didn't recognize. Hired muscle, probably. You came, Becca said. You threatened everything I care about. What choice did I have? Smart. She held up her phone. The money. Half is transferred. You get the other half when I verify you deleted my files and hand me Kaylin's keys. She smiled. And the device you're carrying? The one you think is insurance. Tonia's blood went cold. How? Did you think I wouldn't have thermal scanners running? She laughed. I can see the device in your pocket. Hand it over. Now. Tonia reached for her pocket. The lights went out. Gunfire erupted. Muzzle flashes lit the darkness like lightning. Tonia hit the concrete floor, covering her head. Tonia! Kaylin's voice came through somewhere in the chaos. She crawled behind a concrete pillar as the firefight raged. This was wrong. This wasn't the plan. The plan was controlled, surgical. This was war. Then she heard something. A grunting cry. Someone was hit. The emergency lights flickered on, bathing everything in red. Kalen was on the ground, blood spreading across his white shirt. No! Tonya was moving before thinking, running to him. Jae-wha was already there, applying pressure to the wound. He's alive, but we need to move. Now. Becca was gone. Her hired men were down, unconscious or worse, Tonya couldn't tell. Kalen's team secured the perimeter. Get him to the car, Tonya said, her voice surprisingly steady. I'll get the keys. Tonya, Jae-wha started. I'll get the damn keys. She ran in the direction Becca had fled, adrenaline overriding fear. She found her in a back office, frantically trying to pry open a window that had been painted shut years ago. It's over, Becca, Tonya said. She spun around, pulling a gun with shaking hands. Stay back. You're not a killer, Tonya said, hoping she was right. You're scared. You made a deal that went bad, and now you're trying to survive. I understand that, but shooting me doesn't solve your problems. You don't understand. Her hand trembled. The Beacon Lotus, Kalen, all of them, they'll kill me for what I've done. I'm dead either way. Not if you give me the keys. Not if you testify against the Beacon Lotus. Kalen has connections. He can protect you. Witness protection, new identity, whatever you need. Why would he protect me after I shot him? You didn't shoot him. Your hired guns did. And he's still alive. Tonya took a careful step forward. Let me help you, Becca. This doesn't have to end with you dead or in prison. She lowered the gun slightly. You mean that? I mean that. She handed over a backpack. The keys. All of them. And she pulled out a flash drive. Your files. Everything I copied. It's all here. I'm sorry. For all of it. Kalen survived. The bullet had missed anything vital, barely. But he needed surgery and weeks of recovery. Tonya stayed through it all. Held his hand through procedures. Argued with doctors who tried to make her leave. Terrified Jae-wha with the intensity of her protectiveness. When Kalen finally woke, groggy from anesthesia, his first words were, You didn't run. I promised I'd come back, Tonya said. I keep my promises too. He smiled weakly, almost noble, for a fashion designer. Becca did testify. The Beacon Lotus syndicate collapsed within 6 months. She disappeared into witness protection somewhere in the Midwest with a new name and a second chance. 2 months later, Tonya's boutique grand opening was everything she dreamed of and more. The collection was a phenomenon. Buyers from 3 major department stores placed substantial orders. Fashion bloggers she'd idolized wrote glowing reviews. Celebrities were photographed wearing her designs. Her grandmother's dream was thriving. And standing in the back of the room, looking completely out of place among fashion people but completely at home in his confidence, was Kalen. He caught her eye and smiled. After the chaos died down, after the last guest left and it was just Tonya and the boutique full of beautiful things she'd created, he approached. You did it, he said. We did it. She gestured to the space. None of this would exist without you. I just retrieved a suitcase. You created magic. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment. I have to go back to home tomorrow, he said. Handle some business. Becca's testimony has caused necessary complications. Good complications? The kind that matter. He paused. Come with me. She blinked. What? Come with me. Not forever. Just visit. I want to properly show you my city. Not warehouses and safe houses. The parts that matter. Kalen, I have a business to run now. You have a manager. Very competent, I checked. He stepped closer. I'm not asking you to choose between your world and mine, Tonya. I'm asking for a chance to see if we can build something between them. She looked around her boutique. Her dream. Her grandmother's legacy made manifest. Then she looked at him. This impossible man who'd kept his promises. Protected her. Seen her. Okay, she said. One visit. His smile could have lit the entire city. One visit. He kissed her then, surrounded by silk and dreams and possibility. 6 months later, Tonya had boutiques in Little Tokyo and West Hollywood. Turned out, There was substantial demand for designs that bridged downtown elegance with West Coast edge. Who knew? She split her time between both cities, built a life that was entirely hers, with threads connecting two worlds that shouldn't fit but somehow did. Kalen used his resources to build a technology security company. Still had enemies, but fewer wanted him dead now. They made it work. The crime lord and the fashion designer. On nights when sleep wouldn't come, when the weight of running two businesses pressed too heavy, she'd find him on whatever balcony overlooked whatever city they were in. "Tell me again," she'd say. "Tell you what? How a girl from Little Tokyo ended up here." He'd pull her close. She grabbed the wrong suitcase and found exactly what she needed. That's a terrible story, completely unrealistic. And yet, here we are. Here they were indeed. Tonya looked out at the city lights. West Hollywood tonight, Little Tokyo tomorrow, somewhere else next week, and thought about her grandmother, about promises kept and silk transformed into stories, about how sometimes the wrong path leads to exactly the right destination. If this story gave you all the feels, help me do 3 things right now. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss these stories. Like this video so others can find it, and comment below telling me your favorite moment. I read every single one. Your support makes these stories possible. Until next time, stay bold, stay beautiful, and remember that sometimes the biggest mistakes lead to the best adventures. See you in the next story.